Thank you,
Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Butler. Senator Cotton.
Director Wray, in your written statement, you mentioned anti-Semitic attacks, and in your opening statement this morning, you said that the FBI seeks to mitigate them quickly. Has there been an increase in anti-Semitic attacks since the October 7th atrocity against Israel?
Yes, and what's striking about that is that that's coming on the heels of what we were already seeing, even before October 7th, as a significant uptick, not just of hate-fueled attacks, but specifically anti-Semitic hate-fueled attacks as a portion of those. And by far and away, the biggest chunk of the tips and leads, which are coming in fast and constantly to us post-October 7th, the biggest chunk by far involve threats to the Jewish community. We've seen bomb threats to synagogues, threats to attack the Jewish community on campuses and other places. We've had multiple arrests. So it is a real problem. And as I think I testified maybe recently, what's so jarring about those attacks is that the Jewish community in this country is like 2.5% of the American public, and yet they represent something close to 60% of all religiously based hate crimes. And they have the unique distinction of being targeted by Sunni terrorists, Shia terrorists, domestic terrorists, inspired terrorists, and so we are acutely focused on the threats to the Jewish community, which very much needs our help.
Thank you. I share your concerns about those threats and the disproportionate nature of the threats to Jews in America. Federal civil rights laws do protect Jews from these anti-Semitic hate crimes and racist acts of violence to include their criminal provisions. Is that right?
Yes.
I want to focus on one particularly egregious incident of such anti-Semitism. On Thanksgiving Day, a pro-Palestinian mob showed up at the home of Michael Tushin in Los Angeles. Mr. Tushin is no random private citizen. He is the president of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, also known as AIPAC, one of the strongest supporters of the American-Israel Alliance and an organization with broad bipartisan support in Congress. This mob was there for no other reason than that Mr. Tushin is Jewish and that he is the president of AIPAC and a supporter of Israel. The mob set off smoke bombs with dense black smoke to make him and his family think their house was on fire. They blared sirens. They dumped fake blood and infant-sized body bags in his driveway. They vandalized cars that were parked in the driveway. They distributed flyers around the neighborhood with Mr. Tushin's photo and a message that there would be, quote, no peace, end quote, for him as long as AIPAC supports Israel. When a neighbor tried to intervene during a lengthy wait for the police to arrive, one member of this mob attacked the neighbor with a metal pole. Director Wray, has the FBI made any arrests in these hate crimes in Los Angeles that have been so widely publicized in the media?
Well, I don't know if it's part of the same investigation, but I know, for example, post-October 7th, we have had arrests of individuals in LA, in the LA area specifically, individuals who were threatening, for example, the ADL CEO and a number of people in ADL leadership. And a lot of the cases that we've been advancing post-October 7th involve threats that sound very similar to the one you're describing.
Please go beyond threats. They showed up at his home on Thanksgiving Day and vandalized his home and attacked a neighbor. The organization is known as the People's City Council of Los Angeles, who post videos and photos up on their account along with the message, quote, no peace for these baby killers, F AIPAC, hashtag Free Palestine. And to be clear, they didn't use the PG version of the four-letter expletive starting with F in their social media post. So are you aware of the FBI either conducting arrests against this mob at Mr. Tushin's house or even investigating?
As I sit here right now, I don't know specifically. We've had so many investigations, as I said in our earlier exchange, that are focused on threats or more than threats against the Jewish community all around the country. Let me follow up and see if we can get more information on that specific case.
I would very much appreciate that because it is the case that the history of our federal civil rights laws, especially the criminal provisions of them, go back to a time when local authorities refused to protect the civil rights of their people. This is paradigmatically in the post-Civil War era when local Democratic officials in the South wouldn't protect the rights of freed black slaves. But color me very skeptical that notorious Democrat George Gascon, the prosecuting attorney for the County of Los Angeles, is going to zealously pursue criminal charges against this mob that showed up at Mr. Tushin's home and assaulted one of his neighbors. So I would very much appreciate you following up with me personally to know that the FBI is, at a minimum, investigating this mob and the violent attack on one of Mr. Tushin's neighbors. And I hope they'll do so zealously, using some of the many techniques that have been used. And for example, the prosecutions of Donald Trump, where the Department of Justice has gone so far as to subpoena people who retweeted or liked Donald Trump's social media posts, or the investigations into the January 6 rioters, where facial recognition technology and cell phone location data has been used. If these are good enough for those investigations, I think they should be good enough for this investigation as well, which, again, I don't think that George Gascon is going to zealously pursue.
Well, as I said, we will follow up with you directly about this particular matter. I will tell you, in the meantime, that my instructions to our people are very much along the lines of my comments here today, which is the Jewish community needs us, and we need to be leaning forward.
Well, thank you for that. And as I said, in citing their social media accounts where they post photos and videos of it, these are not criminal masterminds. This should not be a tough case for anyone to crack. I'm sure the LAPD would be happy to investigate and arrest if they thought Mr. Gascon would actually pursue charges. Absent that, I hope that the FBI and the Department of Justice uses the full extent of federal criminal civil rights laws to make sure that this pro-Hamas mob faces legal consequences. Thank you.
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Director Wray, good to see you again.